Hey everyone, welcome back to the Triathlon Weekly News Roundup presented by TheDAILYTRI. My name's Travis. Sorry I didn't get the news out on Monday, but my parents were here. Thankfully, they had good weather, but as you can see, it has turned pretty snowy and miserable outside, so I'm glad I'm inside talking about triathlon, not out there. It was a jam-packed week, so I'm glad we waited till today. We just had the announcement coming out of the PTO races. There's also plenty more going on for the PTO this week, including some interesting drama, which we'll get into. It was also a tough week for USA Triathlon, to say the least, but it looks better now. We also had a podcast from Olav Alexander Boo that said Christian has a historically high VO2 max, and we had some revolutionary new AI come out. And finally, there was a boycott against Ironman. It's not quite on our side of the world, but it is super interesting to take a look at. So that and more coming right up. But before we do that, I'm so excited to quickly reintroduce all the sponsors of this show. I usually will just talk about one a week, but I wanted you to know who they are again if you haven't before, and check them out down below in the description. So beginning with thefeed.com, they are just the best one-stop shop for everything nutrition. If you are curious to try out a lot of products like I was, then it's the best to go and just sample out. You don't have to buy a lot of the products. You can just buy one or two and test them out. That's what I did a lot last year.
What flavor?
Double espresso. So you might see a video coming up soon with all of my favorites, and I'm excited to share that with you. Then we also have Deboer wetsuits, which I can't say enough about that Fjord 2.0 that I've been wearing for the last 6 months. It really just made me so excited to swim. Now, I happen to be lucky enough to live right on a lake, so I used it so much, and it's like having that dream pair of shoes that you just can't wait to put on and go running. That's me with this wetsuit, so I am so bummed that the weather is like this and I can't jump in, although I have jumped in, immediately regretted it, but there's a reason the top pros go with Deboer, and also a video coming out about them pretty soon. Next up is Fuelin. Fuelin you might not have heard of. This was something that I wish I'd had sooner, and actually everybody that I've met that has used the app also says the same thing. They also can't believe just how simple it is and how much it helps. I wish I had this when I was a personal trainer, because I had so many clients also asking for the same thing. Like I said, it connects to your training plan and then gives you a nutrition plan each week depending on your goals, your diet preferences, and most importantly, your workouts, so that you're always fueled and you're not deficient in anything, which is so amazing and good for your overall health in triathlon, which is something I think that gets neglected a lot of the time. I saw Sky Monch using it in Kona, as well as Rachel Zelinskas, and they love it as well. I highly recommend checking out Fuelin. And then lastly, and most recently, is A2 Bikes. So excited to partner with them because I've been riding their bike for the last couple of years, and I always get questions about it because it looks so good and it's so fast and comfortable. Now they have an updated version of my bike, which I actually just ended up giving to my dad for his race at Challenge Roth. Oh, man. I'm super excited to get on their new bike, which is more adjustable, more aero, and it even better than that last one. So I'm so excited to share that with you guys. Couldn't recommend checking them out enough. Then diving into the news today, we got the announcement that PTO will announce the races on the 30th of January. Finally, right? We can let the countdown begin now, because it looks like there might not be any backing out of this date from the PTO, because according to Try Today, there's going to be a launch event at the London City Hall. And apparently they've managed to gather all the top athletes to sign those contracts, and I can't wait to hear how many races there's actually going to be, and hopefully we can get some insights into what those contracts look like. To be honest, I've been really impressed that the PTO has managed to keep all of these races under wraps. We mostly just heard rumors and not many leaks, although this week I did manage to see one, but the PTO did it to themselves. I'm not going to tell you where the race is. I'm gonna leave it as a bit of a scavenger hunt, so if you head to Slow Twitch in the forums, I bet you can find it if you do some digging. I'll give you one clue, and that's that I'm super excited about it because I think I'll be able to make it to this one, but you'll hear of it soon enough, and I'm really looking forward to that launch event. I'm excited to see what they do for it. But we're not done with the PTO yet, because Triathlon Magazine Canada reported that the PTO pledged money in support of Michael Epstein, who managed to secure the only permit for the Malibu Triathlon ahead of Super League, who will now no longer be able to host their race there anymore, which is crazy because Epstein sold the race to Motive, who sold it to Super League, and now he somehow has the race back again. This is some really impressive journalism here from Triathlon Magazine Canada, because they requested some documents which unveiled a PTO email from CEO Sam Renouf that pledged $300,000 to Epstein if he won the permit. So then the big question remains is, why would the PTO do this? And the only logical answer for me, and as the article suggests, is the PTO must want to put on a race in Malibu. And yeah, I'm not sure if that's the case, but why else? I'm curious to hear your thoughts on it down below. This whole Super League Malibu drama just keeps going. Like I said, I won't cast any judgments because I don't know the full story, and wonder if we will get more of this story coming out soon. But yeah, it seems really awkward at face value, especially considering the Super League and PTO are like neighbors in the UK and both trying to do similar things. Yeah, looking forward to hearing more information on that, and I'll give it to you as soon as I know it. However, I think the biggest drama came out of USA Triathlon, at least here in the US. Got pretty heated when they announced changes to their membership structure, especially the cost. But the big drama came around a $400 premium platinum membership, which was now required to be part of the Team USA, and that didn't include the team kits. You'd have to purchase that as well. Previously, you could race with the $50 annual membership, so that really upset a lot of people. USAT hosted a call to hear feedback on the changes, and Slow Twitch described it as disastrous. But huge respect to USAT, because they ended up listening to the feedback and they changed that membership price back down to $60 for those who wanted to compete for Team USA. They just needed the silver membership. It's not clear what they're going to do in 2025, but this is the way it'll be for 2024. It's not too often you see organizations rolling back something as big as this, but I think they'll be glad they did in the long run, especially because a lot of those athletes are their top clientele, and you wouldn't want to upset them. But quick interruption, because I just checked, and the Tauranga half race just finished, and Chelsea Sodaro and Javier Gomez were racing that race. It actually had quite a good start line on both the men's and the women's field, but neither of them ended up winning the race. It was impressive victories for Jack Moody, who's an up-and-coming extremely fast runner, and then also Hannah Berry on the women's side. Chelsea finished in second on the women's race, and then Javier, it looked like he'd finished third, but I don't think that's quite accurate. I'll have to double check, but I think it was Ben Hamilton who finished third and Mike Phillips finished second. So yeah, quite a good race there over in New Zealand. But we can go back to the news, because next up on the list was a couple of Norwegian podcasts with Olav Alexander Boo that caught my eye. First of all, if you haven't seen, they now have a Norwegian Method podcast. It's primarily for age groupers, and I just found it fascinating, so I couldn't recommend it enough. They talk about the performance model that they used, understanding demands of an athlete, and how to reverse engineer with a time budget. I just listen to those guys all day long. It makes me feel a lot smarter. But we also had Olaf on a podcast with the Triathlon Hour with Jack Kelly. It was a long one. They talked a lot about Gustav Iden. They talked about that video that we talked about last week with Christian's insanely high numbers, which, by the way, Olaf wasn't answering directly, but he didn't deny it when Jack said his calculations were around 101 to 104 VO2 max, and Olaf did say they were historically high numbers. I think that is just absurd. And, you know, just the more I listened to Olaf, I loved how he kept going back to how he's just focused and motivated by peak human performance.
I don't spend resources on that because it's not important for me. It's more important for me to make sure that he reaches peak human performance, and then he will be capable of racing whatever race.
And it just made me think we're super lucky to have a guy like Olaf who's pushing not only the sport to the limits, but just sport in general, and how he's so focused on getting the most out of his two athletes. But yeah, I'm just learning so much, and I think it's gonna be fascinating to see what he does in the future. And if you listen to all the way to the end of the podcast, if he decides to stay in our sport, it looks like he has some other opportunities that are exciting for him. But 101 or 102, 3, 4 VO2 max, that is crazy. And I can't wait till they release all the research and data that they've been doing as they have promised. But moving on from there, some of the other headlines were Lucy Charles Barkley got a new tattoo. She also crossed 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, which is amazing. Race Ranger, it looks like they're signing up for more races and their momentum continues to grow. I know I'd love to see them at more and more big races. And then one that caught my eye was Alistair Brownlee releasing Ask Al, which is a lot like ChatGPT, but for triathlon. They say they've been using Alistair and John Lee's knowledge and wisdom of the sport to create this, and that they're also training it still every day. It's a free thing that you can use if you go onto the website. Of course, I had to have a little bit of fun with it. It's pretty cool. I think it still has a long way to go myself, but yeah, I've seen a lot more about AI coaching and training recently, and I'm sure we're only going to see more and more of it in the future. Again, that's a good one to let me know what you think about down below. But then we also had a really cool video of one Olympic champion training with another hopeful Olympic champion, with Gwen Jorgensen and Taylor Knibb teaming up in the pool. That was great to see. Taylor apparently said at the Endurance Exchange that she won't be doing Nice, which it didn't look like she was going to be able to anyways, but she'll be focusing on the PTO Tour and the Olympics and defending her 70.3 title. So it looks like it's going to be a really busy year for Taylor Knibb, and I think she'll be one of the most interesting athletes to watch and see how she can balance the PTO and the Olympics. But if anybody can do it, it's definitely Taylor Knibb. And the last big piece of triathlon news was Lionel finally committing to doing the Ironman series and chasing Kona, as it's what got him into the sport and it's what motivates him the most. I love the part where he said he asked Jan for his advice, and he said, "Do you have a picture that you wish you had but you hadn't yet achieved?" So that'll be great to see how that unfolds. But you know what? I think I'm gonna make this the hot question and put it in here. I think Lionel being coached by Jan Frodeno would be amazing. If not just for the media aspect of it, which would be so fun to watch, but I think Lionel would actually listen to Jan Frodeno out of anybody. So yeah, let me know what you think. Would you like to see Jan Frodeno coach Lionel on his journey to Kona? I think he'd be a good fit. But then another thing that I was thinking of is that Sam Long has really committed to doing the middle distance and the PTO races, and Lionel's going the opposite way. But they are both very similar athletes. You might disagree, but I think it'll be a great contrast to see how both of these athletes go throughout their year. But both of them are new fathers, and they are pretty busy YouTubers as well. So it'll be interesting to see if they can manage everything going on this next year in 2024. It's going to be a busy year for them. And then finally, the last headline this week, which was super interesting, caught my eye. This is on the trail runner side of things, the ultra running side of things, where Zach Miller and Kilian Jornet sent out a private email to lots of the top runners in that ultra community to take a stance and possibly commit to racing outside of the UTMB finals. And they said they had even found an alternative that they could race at. Now, why this relates a little bit to triathlon is because Ironman partnered with UTMB back in 2021, I believe. And at the time, many feared that this would lead to too much of a commercialization of the sport, a monopoly would form, and that it would ruin what ultra running was all about. And it looks like Kilian Jornet and Zach think this is what is happening right now, and believe that the best way for them as elite athletes to use their voice would be to boycott this race and apply a bit of pressure. Of course, like it did with Sam Laidlow and that email chain, it was leaked and it has spread quite a bit in the running community. I think it was a bold move of them, and I thought it was an interesting piece of news that was worth sharing. But moving on from the news, article of the week was definitely Triathlon Magazine Canada, digging up that email from the PTO. And the hot question, I already asked you guys, don't forget about it, Jan coaching Lionel. But then finally, the video of the week this week goes to Lisa Norden strength training with her dog. Oh my goodness, I've loved watching videos of Lisa Norden and her dog, because this dog just looks amazing. But I've got a bit of jealousy here, I've got to admit. I have major puppy fever right now, and with a dog like this, I don't think I'd need any training partners. Thought I had to share that one with you guys. And then finally, the humor of the week had to be this meme of Jan. It definitely seems like Jan has not slowed down at all in retirement. I don't think that is in his nature, but it does seem like he's doing quite a bit. A lot of people still don't believe Jan is fully in retirement and that we will see a comeback. And yeah, I wouldn't mind that at all. And with that, that's all for this week. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Appreciate all of you. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram if you like, and keep your eyes peeled on that podcast. So excited for it this upcoming year. So thank you so much again. Have a good one. We'll see you later.